All right. Welcome back. Second half of the podcast. A big thanks to Dan for taking the time and doing his part and getting us to know this new look Seahawks team. Should be a good game. Should be a great game. And so let's start off this second half of the podcast, again, as we always do, talking about the news. And we're going to start off talking about the injuries. And I know this is not chronological order in terms of how it actually went down, but it's going to make sense when we talk about the injury status for players coming into week 2. First and foremost, we know Deshaun Elliott is going to be out. He will be out for this game because of a knee injury, and so is Malik Harrison. Derek Hartman is just starting to work his way back, so it's very unlikely that he plays. Mike Tomlin said he's assuming that he's going to be out this week. So barring something crazy happening, don't expect Derek Hartman back. The good news is Joey Porter Jr.'s hamstring does not have him ruled out already. He's going to do some work. They'll see how he responds. And they're optimistic for Joey Porter Jr. And Mike Tomlin used the same term, optimistic, when talking about Nick Herbig's hamstring. Remember, Nick Herbig has been out with a hamstring injury since week 2 of the preseason home game, the only home game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Acrisure Stadium. Will he get back? Need to see him do more than just be a limited participant. We'll see. And honestly, with Malik Harrison being out, it's easy to sub Cole Holcomb into that spot. But Malik Harrison was also subbing on the outside. That's where they're going to need Nick Herbig back. Get Nick Herbig back, and this defense might have a different feel to it. Another reason why it might have a different feel, Deshaun Elliott is expected to miss anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks with this knee injury. It's a sprained MCL, very similar to what Derek Hartman had. Not the same exact injury, but in terms of the definition, sprained MCL. So the Steelers had some safety depth to address. And what do? They go out and they get Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers, yes, that Jabril Peppers that used to be at Michigan, used to be in Cleveland, went to the Giants, also went to the Patriots, was a surprise cut this year. It was a surprise that Jabril Peppers did not make the New England Patriots 53-man roster, but he finds his way to Pittsburgh, and he should be able to fit what the Steelers need. Now, Chuck Clark's been there. He's going to be that guy that fills in, but they're probably going to use Peppers in very specific situations. Think goal line, think short yardage, think obvious running situations. When they want to go into pass sets, it depends on Joey Porter Jr.'s health. Jalen Ramsey might be used. You might see Brandon Echols being used, Chuck Clark obviously being used. They're going to have to get some players and flexibility. It also will come down to, can Jabril Peppers learn the actual playbook in time? We shall see. The Steelers, once they make that signing official, are going to have to release someone. Who that is at the time of this being recorded, we don't know. So stay tuned to Steel Curtain Network on the podcast platform as well as steelcurtainnetwork.com for all the latest news. I do want to do an AFC North recap, something I typically do here on this podcast, and that is to let you know that the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of 2 teams that is 1-0 in the division. I'm sure you know this, but just to recap, last weekend the Cleveland Browns miss a short chip shot field goal to beat the Bengals. Therefore, the Bengals are 1-0. The Browns are 0-1. And we all saw the Baltimore Ravens choke away a 15-point lead in the last 5 minutes of the game to start 0-1 against the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park. This upcoming week is going to be interesting. Another divisional matchup. The Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens will go head-to-head in Baltimore. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Seattle Seahawks, obviously, and the Jacksonville Jaguars will go to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. So a little bit of an AFC North recap for you. And before we dive into the mailbag, let's also talk about Defcon levels. We have a week under our belt, folks. That means that it is time to actually put some substance to these Defcon levels. This is not just a projection. Last week we did this, and I was like, I don't know what the offense is going to look like. Well, we at least have a sample size. It's not a large one, but we have a sample size. So let's go offense first, defense second, like we always do. Quarterback, it was a 3, goes up 1 to a 4. I was very impressed with Aaron Rodgers. The way that he took that beating, the dude was sacked 4 times, hit 7, and he still was able to withstand those hits. He was able to get up. Is he as elusive and as mobile as he once was? No. Show me someone that's more elusive than they at 41 than they were at 21, and I'll show you like Benjamin Button. But other than that, I was happy. I was impressed. Quarterback goes up to a 4. Let's hope he can keep that up. Running back goes down. It goes from a 3 to a 2. I thought the Steelers' running game, and a lot of this is going to be tied to the offensive line, was at least going to be able to do something, was going to be able to get something going. Man, they couldn't get anything going. And so I'm hoping that this will hopefully steady itself, get up to a 3, maybe even a 4, maybe by week mid-season. But right now, they're going through the mud. We'll put it that way. They are going through the mud. Wide receiver and tight end. I have it as a 4. It stays a 4. I thought the DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, some of the new weapons did a phenomenal job. Calvin Austin III, little Cal, he did a great job. CA3, Ben Skowronek chipping in. Man, did I get a lot of heat for not having Ben Skowronek on the winners list. Holy crap. Twitter, on the website, on YouTube. Jeez. I mean, the dirtbag, Ben Skowronek, Benny Sko. Man, they are just, he had a great game. There you go. I'm giving him his props. But it stays a 4, wide receiver and tight end. Offensive line, it was a 3. It goes down to a 2. I need to see this offensive line do something well and do it consistently. If it's the running game, great. Pass protection, awesome. I don't care what it is, but until they can start to gel, and I do think that's going to take some time, just do something right and do it well. That's all I ask, and I don't think that's a big ask either. Let's go to defense. The defensive backs are a 4. They stay a 4. I'm hoping that Joey Porter Jr. can remain healthy. I was a little disappointed with Darius Slay. I thought Darius Slay looked a little slow at times, trying to cover Garrett Wilson. Not sure if that was by design or not, but still, that's a 4. We're going to keep it there. Inside linebackers was a 4, goes down to a 3. I do love that room. I thought Patrick Queen had a good game, but man, Peyton Wilson, did he get lost in the wash almost every time I looked. It was unbelievable how every single time it was there he goes, getting lost in the wash once again. If Peyton Wilson wants to be that kind of player, that kind of linebacker, that can't happen. So that's why it goes from a 4 to a 3. And I also am looking forward to Cole Holcomb getting some reps. He did not get any snaps last week. Let's see what this guy can do. Outside linebacker goes from a 3 to a 4. I was very happy with Jack Sawyer as his ability to set the edge. When you talk about Nick Herbig, he is the pass rusher. You want a guy that needs to set the edge. He was able to spell TJ Watt, spell Alex Highsmith, was able to get the job done in that facet. Watt and Highsmith played a great game. Alex Highsmith had 8 pressures. Yes, they ran to his side a lot. Another question that I got a lot from my winners and losers was, how can you have Alex Highsmith as a winner, and yet you also have a loser, the fact that they ran at him the whole time? He was setting the edge, funneling everything underneath him. It was the defensive line and the linebackers that weren't able to make those plays. Did not fall on Alex Highsmith. Outside linebacker goes from a 3 to a 4. The defensive line stays at a 2, especially with Derek Hartman out. There's no help coming right away. If you're out there thinking, okay, help is on the way, I'm sorry. I don't think it is. Not right away anyways. They're going to have to figure it out. I'm hoping to see Cam Hayward look to be in better shape next week. But it's a 2, and it stays a 2. Special teams a 4, remains a 4. No complaints on the kickers or anything like that. All my complaints are on the kick coverage units and the return units. Just not very good. And so that's what's keeping it from a 5. When you look at it, running back, offensive line, and defensive line, the only real positions of concern in terms of Defcon levels being at 2. All right, so let's dive into the mailbag segment. You all had a lot of questions, and I have some answers for you. And so let's take a look at some of these questions. Let's get things started with the Believers Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. It says, what is your biggest concern? The run defense, the offensive line, or injuries? For me, I went with the run defense. It's just the fact it's recency bias, even though it's not that recent. But the last 2 times we've seen the Steelers run defense on a football field in a regular season game, they've given up 299 and 182. That's not it. So until they fix that, that's my number one priority, because the offensive line didn't make enough plays to win the football game. Dave Schofield from Steel Curtain Network says, what do you think is the biggest overreaction to the Steelers' Week 1 performance? I think, in my opinion, and what I've seen on social media, on the website, and all these other avenues, the biggest overreaction is not one specific position. It is the fact that people are making these glaring declarations as if nothing can change. So I said this on Twitter the other day because I was getting fed up with what I was seeing. And I said, if you're someone that's saying that we can't put too much stock into the Week 1 offensive performance based on X, Y, or Z, the Jets aren't any good, the whatever, then you can't also say that the defense is broken and cannot be fixed. So we can't say, well, let's not give them credit, but let's keep all this blame on them and that they can't get it fixed. Both can be true. Week 1 success should be tampered. Week 1 failures should also not be treated as if it is a death knell. That's the overreaction of Week 1. It happens every year. It frustrates the hell out of me every year, but that's my biggest overreaction. Will Caldwell, he asked 3 questions. Here we go. Number 1, hey, Jeff, watching the game, It just seems like the Steelers are trying to fit Benton into a role that he is ill-suited for. It seems to be a theme of the Tomlin-run Steelers when you consider the holes previously at slot corner, Dotson at left guard, Kendrick Green at center. Agree or no? I think that this is something, I'm going to quote Dave Schofield. If you listen to our Mike Tomlin press conference recap, Dave talked about this. And the reporter specifically asked Mike Tomlin if he would consider moving Keanu Benton to more of your standard 3-tech position that's away from the nose. But this is only when they're in their base defense. Dave brought it up, and it was a great point. They're not in their base defense that much. And so if they're using him outside of that realm, which they are, they're using him more on the edge or as the defensive end or defensive tackle, whatever you want to call it today. The hope is that Wyatt Black can start to take some of those nose tackle reps and not have Keanu Benton there. But Keanu Benton had a rough game. He had a rough game no matter what position he was playing. He was getting pancaked. He was getting moved easily. Not a good game. And Mike Tomlin said, ultimately, I think it's about him playing better and not so much the position. Will Caldwell also says, hey, Jeff, going back to the Cam contractual situation, what do you think possessed him to go through such lengths for what ultimately became a marginal increase in incentives? Obviously, he wanted a new contract, but the risk to his reputation didn't seem worth it. You know, you bring up a great point. And I told people on Monday, if you want to get my feelings on this, bring it up in the mailbag segment. I think that Cam Hayward did some irreparable damage to his reputation with the fan base. I think that it's to the point that even if the Steelers win a Super Bowl with Cam on the roster, there are some fans that will always talk about Cam Hayward and say, well, I hope he has enough money to feed his family this week. So it wasn't that he asked for more money. It was when he spoke that it made it a million times worse. It's when in the same press scrum, if you want to call it that Cam Hayward says, I'm not trying to be greedy, but then you're going to go and try and be greedy. And so he was constantly talking out of both sides of his mouth. It was a horrible look. The fans are frustrated. And so, yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. I understand why he asked for more money. I don't know why it had to become so public. I don't think the Steelers are an organization that requires public pressure. And if anything, the Steelers were not the ones that were feeling the pressure. It was Cam. The Steelers had him under contract. Then they still do right by him, which is going to help improve the overall perception of the organization. It's a weird situation when you look at it from top to bottom. Last one from Will Caldwell. Positive question. After seeing the performance of the receiving core, who do you think will pop off this game? Tariq Woolen will probably be covering Metcalf, so do you think there will be another dose of CA3, or is there a sleeper pass catcher you think will be featured? I would like to see the Steelers try running a little bit more 11 personnel sometimes. That's Aaron Rodgers' favorite. One running back, one tight end. They love the heavy tight end packages, and I understand it. I want to see like a Ben Skowronek, Calvin Austin III, DK Metcalf, Roman Wilson. Let's see what these receivers can do as well. Let's get them light and let's move it. I'd love to see some of that, a little bit more of that. They ran a lot of heavy sets against the Jets, and I understand why they wanted to run the football and they wanted to be physical, but I think they could do it a little bit better. Let's go to Nathan Van Slyke. He said, hey, Jeff, I was able to complete my marathon on Sunday with a time of 4 hours and 35 minutes and 15 seconds. I was also able to catch the game afterwards. It was great to see the passing offense doing well. I hope to see some improvement from the defense in week 2. Nathan, congratulations on completing your marathon, and that is one hell of a time. 4 hours, 35 minutes, and 15 seconds. Man, there's people that couldn't even walk 26.2 miles. You did it in 4 hours and 35 minutes. Congratulations, man. Good job. Good job. You should be proud of yourself. All right, let's go to Tyler. Hey, Jeff, what player, if any, that we lost this past offseason would have helped with Sunday's win? Also, where are the Mike Tomlin haters now? They seem kind of quiet after a quote-unquote old washed-up quarterback puts up 4 touchdowns. So what player that they lost this past offseason would have helped? That's a tough one. Of course, Minkah Fitzpatrick's the first name that comes to mind, right? I want to lean that way, but I would probably say that maybe even like a Larry Ogunjobi. And Larry Ogunjobi didn't set the world on fire last year and wasn't some prized player. They cut him for contractual reasons and salary cap situations. So I understand why they cut him. But man, that's where I go because the run. They couldn't stop the run. That's where I go. Afton Forehead, is there any realistic hope for Broderick Jones to improve? Of course there's a chance for him to improve. That was just his second start in his career at left tackle. The second start. The first one was his rookie year against Baltimore at home. He has not started a game at left tackle since. Now, I'm not saying that we give him a super long leash, but we got to give him more than a game. Yes, there's a realistic hope that he can actually improve. Let's go to Renan. Hi, Jeff. Great and needed win on Sunday. My question is, Cam Hayward looked out of shape. Benton did nothing. Loudermilk didn't even hear his name. Lack of preparation or inability of the defensive coordinator to put together a plan for those guys. This defensive alignment against Baltimore will be embarrassing. So I think there's a lot of issues here, a lot to unpack. And I'm not about to suggest that I know the X's and O's as well as someone like Coach Kevin Smith, who could break down what exactly goes wrong. Cam Hayward looked rusty. He looked like he was getting winded. He was out of shape. Keanu Benton got pushed around, talked about him already. Loudermilk, I thought, didn't play as poorly as people might think. But if there's a player that's going to be elevated on game day, I'm wondering if the Steelers might be thinking like a DeMarvin Leal to try and get a bigger body in there to help stop the run. We shall see. We shall see. Let's go to Tyler Donnelly. He said, hey, Jeff, do you think Jonnu Smith's role in the offense will expand as the year continues? It seemed like they only hit him for short passes on bootleg plays. I would hate to see him get put in the same type of box Darnell Washington has been in the past 2 years. I honestly think that he is I think his role will expand. And he was the player. You could see that Aaron Rodgers, when he got when he got the Jets for 12 men on the field, he threw it to Jonnu Smith down the seam. And if we watched Aaron Rodgers, when that drive was over, he was furious because they got a first down. He got a free play out of it. And he was just saying, man, like, he's motioning forward. Like, you got to drive it down the seam. There was a miscommunication there. Something to keep in the registry in case you see less snaps from Jonnu Smith in the future. Let's go to Dr. Anthony. He says, hi, Jeff. I was surprised to see that Arthur Smith was on your winners list. I thought he had some creative play calling and did a nice job. I could have put him on the winners list. I was impressed with the play calling. I can't have 25 winners, though. So I chose 9. I left Ben Skowronek off. I guess I left Arthur Smith off as well. Both of them are giving you credit right now. Good job. Dr. Anthony also says, bigger concern after week 1, Benton or Jones. They both struggled badly against the Jets and so far show no improvement from last year. What is hindering their development? Out of the two, I would take the guy that's, in terms of which is the bigger concern, it's Keanu Benton. Keanu Benton has played a lot of snaps at his role for the last 2+ years now. This is only Broderick Jones' second start at left tackle in his career. Keep this in perspective, people. Both have been disappointing, though. I'm not going to lie. And let's finish this up with Steeler Fan 69 says, hello, my friend. Netflix will help you finish spelling the name of the movie you're looking for and then tell you they don't have it. The next one, how is the Titanic and the Sixth Sense alike? I see dead people. And last one, you know you're a bad driver when your GPS says, in 400 feet, stop and let me out. Those are great. Those are really good. I like those jokes. Those are great. I want to finish this show up with a very quick shout out. Today that I'm recording this, which is Tuesday, is one of my daughters. It is our 4th out of 5, so our 4th child. It's her birthday. So Caroline, she turns 10. It's really difficult for me to wrap my brain around the fact that she is now, as I was called when I was a kid, I remember my dad calling me a double-digit midget. My daughter is now a double-digit midget. We are celebrating. I had to do the podcast a little bit earlier than usual, so if you didn't get your question answered on the mailbag, that's probably why. But I want to give her a big shout-out. I want to wish her a happy birthday. I've told her this to her face, but I'll tell it to anyone that's listening or watching. I love you more than anything, Caroline. Happy birthday. I hope you enjoy it, and here's to many, many more. But that does it for me, folks. I hope you enjoyed this show. I know I did. I'll be back on Friday with a brand new Let's Ride podcast and the All Bets Are Off segment with Jeremy Jerome Betts. We'll have keys to victory, all that fun stuff on the Friday podcast. Make sure you check out all of our podcasts here on the Steel Curtain Network, as well as at steelcurtainnetwork.com. That does it for me. You know, we finish this up. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.